Hey everyone, it's Blake. Welcome into episode number 60 of our WWE 2021 Save and TEW 2020. This is Raw for week 2 in November. And I know, again, it's been about a week since our previous episode. I appreciate you guys hanging in there because January is just usually a pretty busy month for me from a work standpoint. So hopefully we'll get back to our normal routine here in about a week or so. With at least, a couple videos per week, 2 to 3 per week as we were before. So, again, I appreciate all you guys continuing to support the channel. And, we'll hopefully get this cranked back up here as we get into February. So, let's jump into Raw here. Very important episode of Raw as we continue to push towards Survivor Series. And I know for Raw, it's been a little while since you've seen an episode here because we've had the Mae Young Classic and all of that. So if you need to go back, get a little refresher of what's going on in Raw, I would certainly suggest that if you want. But let's start with the pre-show, and it's Dominic Mysterio getting the win over Robert Roode in 726, using the 619, a 58 here. And as we see, another nice little bonus on the pre-show, as we've seen this happen quite a bit recently. Dominic and Robert Roode have great chemistry. That's not one that I would have expected, to be honest. This was just kind of a random pairing to give Dominic a win because we're starting to, find some different ways to use Dominic, and we certainly have some storyline plans for him here in the near future and long-term future. So this is at least, encouraging, and we continue to have Ray with Dominic, and this will not be the last we talk about Ray specifically on this episode. But a nice win for Dominic, and that was kind of the objective here. And for all the Robert Roode fans out there, I'm a huge Robert Roode fan, but I just don't have much for him right now, booking-wise. So it's unfortunate, but we just got so much going on in Raw. There's only so many storylines I can fit in, and right now we just don't have one for Roode. So there you go. That's the pre-show. But let's jump into the main part of the show. And it starts with a visitor for our general manager, Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's Mick Foley, the SmackDown general manager, as it is Foley visiting Austin here on Raw. And they're talking about the Mae Young Classic, which we announced the bracket on that for our previous episode of the podcast. So check that out if you haven't already. They're talking about their excitement for the Mae Young Classic and all the different matchups. And Austin also excited, he said, for some matches he's got booked for tonight. One of those being Daniel Bryan versus Mustafa Ali. That is one of the matches. We've also got some more as well. So Austin and Foley in a very chipper mood looking ahead to the Mae Young Classic. And then Foley goes to ask Austin for a favor. He wants a favor from the Raw general manager. And before they can get into that discussion, 88 here, great segment. Here comes Bayley. And as we teased on the Mae Young Classic bracket reveal, there's a reason Bayley's not in the tournament, and this is exactly the reasoning here. Bayley comes in with their Raw Women's Championship in tow. You've got Austin, you've got Foley, and Bayley explains to them that everyone wants to know, why is she not in the field? But everyone thinks it's because she got snubbed. Bayley says she's never been snubbed, and she did not submit her name for the Mae Young Classic tournament because she has no incentive to do so. And she explains that she is the Raw Women's Champion. And though the prize this year for the Mae Young Classic is this whole pick your prize theme that's been running on WWE.com. We're having to push this as an internet announcement here, but we're going to push this more in storyline, and that's why I didn't announce what sort of the prize was going to be, what the winner of the Mae Young Classic was going to get, because we are going to be pushing this as a pick your prize. And you get the Mae Young Trophy. You get to pick your prize. A very prestigious tournament. We're definitely pushing that, as I mentioned in the bracket reveal as well. We are pushing this as a very big deal. And you saw with the bracket, we have so many different people that are in there. We still have some big mystery surprises that we're going to have as well. So this is sort of your very, it's like a King of the Ring, right? It's just on the women's side. But it's something where rather than tell you exactly what the winner is going to get, we're going to push this as more of a mystery, because otherwise I think the matches become very predictable. So we're going to put a little unique spin on this and go with the pick your prize thing. And that is why Bayley is saying that there's no reason for her to be in this tournament because she has no prize to pick. She is the prize. She has the Raw Women's Championship. That's the prize. She has everything she wants, everything she needs. She doesn't need to prove anything to anyone. And she says that if Bianca Belair, the SmackDown Women's Champion, wants to enter this tournament and feel like she has to prove something, well, that just proves that Bianca Belair doesn't think that she's the best. And Bayley says she knows she's the best. And that Bayley 316 says that she's the champ. And then she walks out and turns her attention to Foley and says, Mick, have a nice day. So Bayley having some fun here, but she explains that's why she's not in the field. So this is sort of your heel champion here, kind of saying, hey, I have no reason to be in this tournament. This pick your prize stipulation, I am the prize, I have the prize. That is what we're pushing with Bayley. Now, obviously, you know there will be a lot more to come on this, but I am very excited about how all of this is going to play out, not only with Bayley, but with the Mae Young Classic as well. So this is step one of many to come for this tournament. And as Bayley exits, here comes Cesaro and Sheamus, who make their way into the match, or make their way into the back here. And Cesaro and Sheamus, they want another match with Edge and Orton. Of course, we go back to last week on Raw. Came down for like the showdown that ended with Rated RKO and the Bullet Club staring each other down with chairs in hand as we went off the air. And that was after Edge and Orton had taken out Cesaro and Sheamus with the chairs. And so Cesaro and Sheamus, they had that match a while back. We remember tag team match with those four. They won another one, and Austin says that don't worry, he is going to make it right. Of course, Cesaro still has a WWE title rematch still out there as well, but for now, Austin says he will make it right to these two. So this gets an 88. We're off to a very hot start here, and we're going to go straight into the action match-wise because Cesaro and Sheamus are in action next, but it's not going to be against Rated RKO. Let's see how they fare. And actually a pretty good match here, 75. Cesaro and Sheamus get the win over Angel Garza and John Morrison, 7:58. Cesaro pins Angel Garza after the swing there, so this does pretty well. I mean, no surprise, right? You're talking about just the in-ring work of Cesaro and Sheamus. You know, I mean, the tag team specialist bonus, everything just kind of, these two are so over now, which we looked at in our State of WWE. These two, just popularity-wise, have really boomed, and I think that, you know, as you know, we have a lot to come with these two moving forward, but yeah, they're not going to be in tag team action every single week, but we're kind of putting them into that slot right now just because they have beef with Edge and Orton. So that's kind of that. But this was just a match to sort of give them, you know, some time on the card here, and they get a win over Garza and Morrison. And then it is Toni Storm and Liv Morgan who are backstage, and they are doing a video promo here, and they say, hey, we're moving towards Survivor Series. We're moving towards the Mae Young Classic, and we are going to have sort of some interchangeable matches where you have people on both brands in the same matches. But as I told you guys in the Mae Young Classic video, this is not going to turn into the Wild West. We're not just going to have everyone on every brand every week. I would think that becomes way too much. So we're going to be strategic in how we do this. And one of the things that already calling our shot here is that Liv Morgan and Toni Storm, the Rebels here, they want Alexa Bliss and Raquel Gonzalez to come to Raw next week because remember, these are their first round opponents in the Mae Young Classic. It's going to be Toni Storm against Alexa Bliss. It's going to be Liv Morgan against Raquel Gonzalez. So they issue a challenge. They want to know, you know, are these two going to come to Raw next week? We'll find out, but that is kind of the message here from these two as they make their march towards the Mae Young Classic. And then it is MVP with Omos, and Kofi Kingston is on tap for this particular Raw for Omos. As we know, we've been building up to this. Omos took out Xavier Woods. Now he's decided to go towards Kofi Kingston. Pat McAfee wants to know, you know, what do you expect in this match tonight? Do you expect this to be, you know, a repeat of what we saw with Xavier Woods? And surprisingly, MVP says, you know what, Pat? I'm going to say something right now. I cannot guarantee you that Omos is going to be able to beat Kofi Kingston tonight. I cannot guarantee you that Omos is going to win this match against Kofi Kingston. And these two just walk off. Pat McAfee very stunned. He's like, what is he talking about? What do you mean you can't guarantee if he's going to win? These two have been, you know, MVP's been very cocky about Omos and all this other stuff, and Pat McAfee a little thrown off here, but he gets a 71. Of course, that's exactly what we want. We want to keep building Omos, getting him in these high-rated segments, and that's the goal here. But that's going to lead us into the match, and before we get to the actual finish of the match, I'm going to add in a little wrinkle, as I do, you guys know, with some of these matches, and it is important because we start the match, and as the match is going along, Big E is out with Kofi Kingston, MVP, of course, is out with Omos. And as the match is going on, which, as you can expect, this is not a lengthy match, at one point, it is MVP going over and hitting Big E with the ring bell. So he just catches him off guard. Big E distracted by what's going on in the ring. And then it is MVP taking advantage by grabbing the ring bell, hitting Big E with it. So you've got Big E down. That leads to Omos just completely obliterating Kofi Kingston. And so this gets a really good rating, 80 here overall between these two. Big E looked good, but that does lead us into the match. And my goodness, Kofi Kingston, miracle worker here, 58 for an Omos match. I am thrilled. I don't even know. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like, what is the best match he's had this far? I've got to say this has to be close, right? But it is Kofi Kingston getting the win over Omos in 726 because Omos just keeps pounding and pounding on Kofi Kingston to the point to where the referee has no choice but to intentionally disqualify Omos, which, remember, leading back to the promo, there's a reason why MVP said that he could not guarantee that Omos was going to win the match because clearly Omos was more worried about just taking out Kofi Kingston. That's exactly what he does here. Omos gets a 47 in-ring performance. I want to say that's probably okay for him, but we're probably still getting knocked, of course, for the inexperience, the psychology, and all that. But we're getting there. Like, we are taking the right steps with Omos, and there's more to come on this particular feud, as we know. But I'm pleased with where things are now. 58. I mean, if this would have got a 60, you guys, I would have been turning cartwheels. Like, I don't know if you would have been able to hear it through the microphone, but I would have been thrilled. So this is not bad at all with this, and yeah, we'll see what comes next with this storyline. But right now, Big E taken out, Omos destroys Kofi. So 2 down, 1 to go perhaps for Omos with the New Day. And then it is Steve Austin announcing here in a nice segment, 69 overall, which didn't do well just because we didn't have anything else to get to. But Steve Austin announces that he's adding another match to the Survivor Series card for the Raw side. It is going to be Penta versus Rey Mysterio one-on-one. As we know, it was Rey Fenix defeating Rey Mysterio in our recent match on Raw via interference from Penta. Well, looks like the second of that, sort of matching there is going to happen at Survivor Series. So there's a pretty interesting one-on-one match we've got for Survivor Series, Penta versus Rey Mysterio. I'm looking forward to that one as well. I think that's going to be a very interesting match just based on the styles and everything with those two. So we'll see what happens, but there is another match that's been added to Survivor Series. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this one. 69 overall, nice segment. And then, pretty good stuff here, as you would expect. I hyped it earlier, Daniel Bryan versus Ali. It's Bryan getting the win, 14:53. The bell lock does it, 77 overall. Bryan just fantastic from an in-ring standpoint. Ali coming off that loss to Owens, which we'll talk about Owens here in a second. But yeah, just a really good match here. And I mean, the commentary continues to be an issue. I pointed out, it was pointed out in the comments that we did put Michael Cole and Corey Graves in the developmental so they can continue to hone their skills. But our commentary is holding us back a little bit on some of this stuff, but we'll get there. We're not really concerned about that, but we will get there on those two guys. But yeah, Bryan gets the win here, and this was just kind of, just having Bryan in a match, right? Like, it's just putting him in a match, having him on this show, and that's important because our heels right now, our top heel group, not really wrestling a whole lot at the moment, but there's a reason, and of course you'll see how that plays out. But yeah, I just wanted to put these two together because, quite frankly, I don't even think we've had this match before from what I can remember. So I thought it'd be interesting to see if there was any chemistry there, even though there's not. I mean, it's a good match, 77. So we'll take it. Bryan gets a nice win here over Ali. And then it is backstage ahead of a very interesting tag team match, as it's going to be Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks teaming up. Can they coexist? You guys know I'm not a big fan of that, but we are going to do this in this scenario because it's important for the story we're going to be telling, as Becky and Sasha are going to team up next, as they will take on Carmella and Mandy Rose. So they're in the back, just kind of face-to-face here. Becky makes it clear, look, I don't want to tag with you. Sasha makes it clear, I don't want to tag with you either. And then they tease a potential meeting in the finals of the Mae Young Classic because, if you look at the bracket, who's the name on top and who's the name on the very bottom? It is Becky at the top, Sasha at the bottom. It could happen. We could see Becky versus Sasha in the finals of the Mae Young Classic. So we teased that here. And yeah, I am again, I can't even tell you guys how excited I am about this Mae Young Classic. I'm just, I wish we could just jump right to it, but it's still a month away. But we've got so much to get to before we get there. But I am going to be very happy with that one. 84 here, great segment between these two. So let's see how the tag team match goes with these unlikely partners. All right, so 70. Wow, that's actually pretty good. Oh, look at this. Hey, Becky and Sasha have great chemistry teaming together. Well, there's something else that I would not have expected. Future tag team champions, perhaps. We'll find out. But that is an interesting note, as Becky and Sasha, of course, do get the win over Carmella and Mandy Rose. It is Sasha Banks using the bank statement to submit Carmella in the victory there. But yeah, this is I'm intrigued. They do have great chemistry as a team, so that is something that we could use that at some point. It's not going to happen in the immediate future because we've got too many plans to get to, but that is at least something that I find noteworthy, and we will put down in our notebook for the potential future use way down the line. But a 70 here, I mean, I am perfectly fine with that. All of our matches really hitting thus far on this, even Omos and Kofi, right? Like 58, I'll take it. So, yeah, this was just kind of teasing that tension between these two. As we know, they've had matches recently, but now the dynamics kind of shifted as Sasha's broke away from Bayley, and, it's kind of Becky on the kind of comeback tour of trying to get back that title after losing the match to Bayley. So, that's kind of the setup here, so we'll see what happens moving forward with that. And then it is Steve Austin backstage, and Kevin Owens getting ready to come to the ring for his next open challenge. And Austin says, well played. He gives a nod to Owens for playing everyone and sort of talking about, Austin gave him the advice of, you got to slow down. You got to just, you can't let this become a weekly thing, because Austin says you're going to wear yourself out, you're going to burn out, and you're going to lose that title. So Austin was concerned about Owens, and Owens kind of played that up because he wanted his opponents to think that he was not, as strong as he actually was. So kind of playing the mind games there. But Austin says, hey, I would have done the same thing, and gives him a tip of the cap. And so that's kind of the segment here, is just Austin kind of praising Owens for his seemingly underhanded tactics, but he done it just so he could have his title and be able to keep it. So that he knows that everyone's coming for him with these open challenges. So Owens feeling pretty good right now. 86 overall. Great segment here. And let's see what's to come. It is Owens saying he's ready. Who's his next challenger going to be? He's ready for it. 84 here. And who's going to accept the challenge this week? Let's find out. Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Wow. Kevin Owens defeats Chad Gable in 12 minutes and 9 seconds and 87. Our best match ever in the series to this point. And who would have thought that it would be Kevin Owens versus Chad Gable? Wow. So I went looking through the opponents, and I was like, wait a second. We haven't had Chad Gable yet in the spot of answering the U.S. title open challenge. And I was like, all right, let's just plug him in, right? Like, let's just plug Chad Gable in here, and let's see what happens. I would have never expected this to be an 87. This is incredible. I mean, this is by far our best match so far, right? I think that Roman-Damian Priest match on SmackDown for the title, I think that got like an 84. So this is like far and away our best match we've had. This is absolutely fantastic. Wow. I'm still like, I don't even know what to say. Owens is his 10th defense of the U.S. Title here, and maybe we have to go best of 7 now between these two. Like, maybe we have to go Kevin Owens, Chad Gable, best of 7 series, because clearly this is just, this is insane. Wow. So Kevin Owens clearly at the top of his game right now, because Gable is not very over. Like, he's in the 40s. But, man, Owens and Gable, and they have chemistry. Like, there's not even a chemistry note here. So I really don't even know what to say here, guys. Like, we did do the all-out note, actually. Let's note that. We did do Still the Show. So that is noteworthy. But clearly, they stole the show. Gable's even got poor momentum and inconsistency, and we still got an 87. I'm wowed by this. I am. Like, this is incredible. So, we'll talk more about this, I guess, at some point. But, I don't even know. I can't even put it into words right now how amazed I am that this got an 87. Because this was, we slotted this in our main event slot in terms of matches. Like, this is the last match we have on the show. But I only did it because I didn't want to put Bryan and Ali there, because there's a storyline reason why we couldn't do that. and I couldn't really make sense of doing it, so I just put this here in the main event slot. Oh, wow. All right. Well, I don't know if I don't even get to the rest of the show. It's only downhill from here, right? All right, let's get into the next part because it is not downhill from here. After that incredible masterpiece of a match between Owens and Gable, here comes these two units here as it is Rated RKO making their way out. Then we see the Bullet Club coming from the crowd back into the ring. And once again, we now have the setup that we had last week, right? Edge, Orton, Styles, Cole, and Balor. They're all in the ring, and these two units are just kind of going back and forth with each other. You can kind of sense this is that standoff scenario where one team wants something from the other. And that's kind of the play here is that they ultimately suggest that, hey, let's maybe find a way to work together here because, you know, I know what happened. Edge is saying, hey, I know when you guys came in, what you did to me, but I'm willing to let bygones be bygones here because I think it's better for us to work together. And then, you know, that way we're on the same page and we know we've got all these people coming after us, but you don't really, like, you can't trust either of these groups. That's kind of the point here is these guys are talking to each other, but you know that you can't trust either one of them. And they know they can't trust each other. And it's just kind of that dynamic of all these heels who really understand that they just can't trust one another, but they're trying to join together to see if they can make it work. So as this is going on, these two trying to decide if they're going to be able to work together. And at some point, we get it to where, okay, maybe they go for the handshake. They're thinking, all right, maybe this is actually going to work, right? Well, before we can go any further, 89, great stuff. Here comes Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Sheamus, Angelo Dawkins. They come out with chairs, right? Like that's been the theme, is that these guys have gotten the advantage because of having the chairs, but the script is flipped here because all these guys come out with chairs and they attack Edge, Randy Orton, Adam Cole, and Finn Balor. So we've got 4-on-4 here, right? Like these are the guys who get attacked. It's these four in particular. AJ Styles manages to make his way out to the aisleway to stay out of, you know, the mix here because these four managed to get these four. So, but as AJ Styles is backing up in the aisleway, great stuff here, 83. He has returned. Montez Ford, who was taken out, as we know, by AJ Styles and Finn Balor and Adam Cole in that sort of, you know, blackout segment where we had it, you know, a couple weeks ago. They're on the screen, and it's, you know, that was the Steve Austin parking lot episode where he waited for the Bullet Club, but ultimately they were somewhere else beating up Montez Ford. Ford makes his triumphant return, and he comes from behind and nails AJ Styles with a chair. So getting his revenge here on Styles, gets a 79. We've got chaos everywhere. The baby faces are, you know, reigning supreme here as they finally get their one up on these five guys that they've been dealing with for so long. And so you have this, and then to wrap it up, here comes Steve Austin out on the ramp, and Austin says he knows exactly what he has to do. And he announces a huge 10-man tag team Survivor Series match for the pay-per-view. It will be Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Sheamus, and the Street Profits against Edge, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Adam Cole. So there is a massive match for Survivor Series. It's just, we think about how we've put all these pieces together since we've kind of, you know, brought the Bullet Club back. We've had Edge and Orton kind of reigning supreme on the brand for a while now. You've had all these different people that have kind of been targets of these guys, and it just happened to work out so perfectly where I was like, all right, we have to get this to this big 5-on-5, 10-man tag match at Survivor Series, and this is it. Like, this is our setup now. We know this is going to happen, and, I mean, it ends in a great way here, 91. This was a great episode of Raw, and of course, highlighted by, the main event, which I could never expect it to be an 87. This was outstanding, and it get an 87 overall. So, this ties for our best show to this point, and a lot of that, has to do with, like I said, it's just that main event, I could have never predicted that in a million years that this was going to do as well as it did. But then you had these segments really come through as well. Really, I mean, as I mentioned, everything on this show hit for the most part. Like everything sort of. I even thought like the Cesaro, Sheamus, Morrison, Garza. I didn't know how good that was going to do, but it gets to 75. So this really feels like a big momentum boost for Raw, and not like they didn't have momentum before, but I think we've got everything coming together the way we want it, and I'm just very excited about where things are headed here with Raw, especially going into Survivor Series and definitely the Mae Young Classic. So there you go. That was Raw. We've got a lot of big matches to look forward to, and Survivor Series card starting to take shape. And of course, we already know the card for Mae Young Classic. So we'll talk more about that coming up. But let's see what we need to get to before we wrap up this episode. All right, so Raw was excellent. We struck gold. Yeah, we did with that show. Email-wise, Thunder Rosa on a handshake deal still with NWA, so that's worth noting. David Finlay stays with New Japan. Noam Dar, let's see, he is in NXT UK still at this point, I assume. We're gonna probably re-sign him. He's got some good skills, so we're gonna leave that there. Drug test fees. Raw gets a 3.99. I don't know. I mean, I know we haven't hit the 4 figure before, so my guess is the highest rating we've had for Raw to this point. I'm sure I could track that, but that's my guess. This may be our highest rated Raw yet. And of course, we're still in the cooling down period, but we're almost out of that, so that's exciting. But CMLL gets embarrassed. Let's see. CMLL is in turmoil after it was revealed that they had attempted to feed rumors to NXT sponsors, those bastards, to disrupt our revenue stream. So embarrassment on CMLL. So now this is what happens. You start swinging at NXT, and our guy Triple H, who has got all the spotlight in NXT, is not going to let this happen. So one down, many more to go when it comes to NXT and all of our wars that apparently we've started with CMLL. Who else is in there? AEW, New Japan, everyone, pretty much the entire world against NXT at this point. So Triple H going out with a bang here, and he's already taken down CMLL. So good luck, CMLL. If you're going to swing at the king, you better not miss. So there you go. That was Raw. I am just excited about Raw now. I mean, that was just an unbelievable episode. And yeah, if we look at it here, I'm very curious real quickly. We'll look at this. There it is. Our best match. 48 shows in. It is Kevin Owens and Chad Gable, 87. Fantastic work there from those two. So it is official. That is our best match thus far in the series, and hopefully many more great matches to come. But as always, be sure to like, share, subscribe. I really appreciate all the great support and feedback you guys have. And as I said, thanks for hanging in there as we will try to get back to our usual schedule. As I mentioned, January is a pretty crazy month work-wise, so hopefully we get back on track here soon, and we'll get back to our usual 2 to 3. So again, thanks for the feedback and all of that, and on the next episode, it will be SmackDown for Week 2 in November.